And welcome back. You're watching The Dawn Show. So, did you know that 1 in every 5 women will develop uterine fibroids during their childbearing years? It's a common procedure to remove these painful, benign tumors, usually benign. It's something called power morcellation. Well, the controversial procedure has been making headlines because it does pose a possible risk of spreading undetected cancerous tissues in women with unsuspected cancer. So, here to talk more about this topic is the chair of Temple Hospital's Department of OBGYN, Dr. Enrique Hernandez, and then, of course, back with us is Dr. Kaiser. And this is something really that Temple took a leadership role in, that you were saying, you know what, we're going to ban this. This is a bad idea. And in my layman's terms, how I see it, so I'll just say it, is that it's sort of like taking a roto-rooter and just splattering possible cancerous cells. Is that, a horrible analogy? Or?
No, it's pretty good. Actually, you know, it's more like putting stuff in a blender and letting the top off. And everything's in the blender, you're just going to spill.
Wow.
So the same thing is happening if you do this power morcellation inside of the abdominal cavity.
So how did this all come about? Because you had a personal friend who went through where his wife actually developed cancer, correct?
So Houman Norkazem, who was one of our residents at Penn, did his surgery residency with us and then went and did cardiothoracic surgery in Boston. His wife's an anesthesiologist who, in fact, had a hysterectomy for what was presumed to be benign disease, had, in fact, at the hospital where Houman worked, and had this procedure done only to discover later that she had an undetected cancer in one of those fibroids that then had been spread throughout her abdominal cavity. Houman reached out to me. This was right around Christmas time, as I recall.
Christmas Eve.
Yes. And
Oh, goodness.
And we were out of the country, in fact, and I emailed Enrique saying, should we do something about this? And then he really took it from there. I thought we might be able to take the lead, and under his leadership, I mean, we really have.
I mean, and this is something, I have fibroids. Nearly 80% of all women will have this, and I'm so thankful to you and to Temple that I never had the morcellation, because who knows? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's something that I think most women could say, and their loved ones could say, thank goodness Temple took this leadership role to say, we're not going to do this.
And even before Enrique talks, let me just say, we were the first ones out there thanks to Enrique's leadership. So nationally, he really was the first one to speak out.
So now what's happening? How can women treat the fibroids?
Well, they could always have been treated the same way. So if they're small enough, they could be removed through the vagina at the time of surgery. If they're too large, then it should be open surgery rather than laparoscopic surgery or minimally invasive surgery. And in between, they can always be put in a contained system or an isolation bag. And then they can be cut up manually within the bag and removed safely without contamination of the abdominal cavity.
Why is it that you're the first ones to know about this? I mean, who would ever have the morcellation after the blender analogy? You know, so what should women do? I guess, what should women do now?
Well, things since then have changed. So now the FDA has sent a warning discouraging the use of power morcellation. The main professional groups have weighed in and recognized that there is a danger. So now it's being made public. And so people are aware of the difficulties and the risk, and I think women are asking the right questions.
So, as somebody who, I mean, women's health is your life in general. What are some of the things that you're seeing that are cutting edge at Temple, where you are trying to educate women, other than fibroids? What would you want to talk about with regard to women's health?
Well, at Temple, you know, and thanks to Dr. Kaiser's leadership, we now have 3 robots. So many of the surgery we do now, gynecologic surgery, is being done minimally invasive using robotic assistance. The same thing at the Fox Chase campus. There's cutting edge research going on in terms of not only benign disease, but also cancer, which is my specialty. So a number of changes, a number of exciting changes, and a lot of energy at both the main campus in North Philly, as well as the cancer campus at Fox Chase.
Yeah, that's what I notice more than anything is when I meet some of the doctors who are with Temple, whether they've been with Temple for a while or whether they're some of your newer hires, there is this level of excitement and energy. And I love to see that. It's good for Philadelphia and it's good for all of our health.
Yeah, and I think we have, because of some of the changes we've made in a very competitive environment, because of some of those changes, I think there is an excitement. And the role of someone in a leadership position like I have is to try to maintain that, create an environment where people can really be successful and work to the top of their field, really, and achieve exactly what they want to achieve. But that is the role of leadership. And I think we have created that excitement. People do see it as a transformation.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. Dr. Kaiser, Dr. Hernandez, thank you so much for being here today. Will you come back? We'll talk about more and keep advancing the latest that Temple's doing and how you're making a difference in Philadelphia and South Jersey.
Thank you.
And in the country too. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
gentlemen. We're going to be right back with more right after the break. And welcome back to the Dawn Show. Today we are wrapping up our investment coaching series with Coach Brandon McGee from Inevitable Wealth Coaching. Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you.
So before we get started, I went to one of your seminars, which went great
Yeah, it was
on
a lot of
a
fun.
rainy Thursday night. And I loved, it was predominantly women,
Yeah.
which surprised me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the best questions I thought one of the women asked was, is it ever too late to start investing?
That's right. And two things with regard to that question. It takes guts to ask that question.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the importance of asking the right question. But every time I do an event, I'm reminded of what we're up against as investors. It's not the market, it's not who's in office, it's the investor themselves. It's our own humanity. Because I had a couple of ladies pull me aside and say, I don't want to ask that question in front of everybody else. I don't want to sound dumb or be embarrassed. And for investors, the real battle is ourselves, our instincts and our emotions. And it's really about the questions that don't get asked that do the most damage. And again, it's asking the right questions. One of the questions that wasn't asked was, how's the market work? Where's the returns coming from? Nobody asked that question. It's kind of fundamental. But again, it's also dealing with the emotions. Allowing ourselves to be generous to ourselves, allowing ourselves to perhaps look a little vulnerable, but then we get the answer to the question and we march right on to the next thing. So.
Is it interesting to you that at these seminars, there are a nice mix of couples, but predominantly women. So are more and more women thinking about taking control of their own financial destiny?
I think it goes back to instincts and emotions.
Okay.
I think women can put their egos in their pocket more so than men can.
Which is why we stop for directions, right? My husband's laughing right now if he's watching.
So again, I think there is a little bit of that, put your ego in your pocket and be a little bit vulnerable. Admit, I don't know. And once you admit I don't know, guess what? You can learn. So again, it was a great event, so thank you for coming.
Yeah,
And a
absolutely.
lot of
And you
fun.
give out candy, which
Give
is
out
brilliant.
Candy and massages, how bad could
Yeah,
it be?
yeah, right, it's wonderful.
I don't do the massages though.
How do you, when people are coming to you and they say to you, all right, I'm ready to take that leap, I've never done an investment portfolio, what's the first step?
First question is to get them to focus in on the questions that they need to be asking. First one is true purpose for money. Other questions are defining your philosophy. What is your philosophy? There's 6 million products out there, but there's only 2 philosophies to choose from. Which one do you align with? If you get that answer, now you're going to be in control of what gets done and how it gets done with your money. So it's getting them to focus in on the questions that they need to be asked.
Okay, Coach Brandon McGee, second book is coming out soon. We'll
Yes.
talk about that at some point, but congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on The Dawn Show.